3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's Monday. It's Monday. It really is. 7 o'clock. And that can mean only one thing. It's time for Reading the Signs, where me, Comedy John Ryan, and my comedian pals from all over the world are going to be talking about comedy, well-being, why we do it, how we cope. And that's where we need your help. We need you to send us your top tips for well-being. Be part of the show. Drop a comment in the box on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on the mensradiostation.com website. It's going to be a great show, much better than last week. What we're trying to do is think exceptional, which, funnily enough, is the motto of WJ, our show sponsors. WJ are the UK's leading road marking and highway maintenance company. They're working with us, we're working with you. Let's get to it. Ooh! What's going on here then? Hello, welcome along to this week's Reading the Signs with me, Comedy John Ryan. That is going to be our guest in a little while, Michael Stranney. Absolutely hilarious. It's going to be a fantastic show tonight because all of you who know me know that I'm not really easily impressed. You know, I've worked with all the big acts. I've worked with them all: Mickey Flanagan, Jimmy Carr, Jim Davison, Frank Carson. In all honesty, though, this is one of my favourite performers. Very few people make me laugh like this guy does. So, if nothing else, Tasha, who is downstairs in the box dealing with your comments, just wants to know what is so funny about this man that we're going to be talking to this evening. We're all going to find out. Before that, though, how was your week? Let me know what you've been up to. Anything good happened to you? Anything bad happened to you? What's going on in your world? I've had a mad, hectic week. Monday was incredible. I went to Northampton, and it was one of those nights or afternoons where it just all went right. One of the other acts didn't turn up, and so we have those words that performers fear when the promoter says, "Well, you just go on and start, and then we'll give you the sign when the next act turns up." After 45 minutes, the next act hadn't turned up. That's fine for me. I could chat for England, Ireland, or any other country that will give me an EU passport. But it was interesting for me to think on my feet and to try and think, outside the box, think exceptional, like we say. It is one of our little mottos on this show. Thinking exceptional, saying it's one thing, thinking it's another thing, is, as we know, the motto of our sponsors, WJ, thank you so much to Wayne and the guys for getting behind the show. So we're recording on tonight. We, as always, have our comments box. So if you do have anything you want to say, pop a question in there or pop a statement or just tell us what you've been up to. Hopefully Big Steve will turn up at some stage with a classic Big Steve-ism. If you are listening, though, do just let us know you're there. That'd be really nice. So it was an interesting week because, like I said, I gigged on Monday at a comedy gig and Thursday and Friday at comedy gigs. And the consistent theme for all three was that people are just so keen to be out and about, really embracing life. It's like the whole COVID thing never happened. 6 months ago, all three events would have been described as super spreader events. But this week, none of that. We just had a laugh and it was absolutely wonderful to be out and about. I also, during the day, did a talk for a rail company, and then on Wednesday did a talk for a construction company about well-being and comedy. And it was great. So many lads with questions. I think maybe, hopefully, after the whole COVID thing, which hasn't gone away yet. Let's be honest, we've still got people who are suffering. And our thoughts are with people, if you know anyone who is going through it. But it seems post-COVID, people want to talk. They want to open up. And they just want to kind of get help, get advice. Maybe it's changed the way we think about life and the world. So do let us know what you've been up to. We've got Luke Newman straight off. Good evening, myself. The founder of For Men to Talk. Luke, thanks so much for coming along. Luke has written the Mental Health Moles book. We speak on Clubhouse, Luke. Really appreciate it. I'd love to get you on one night, mate, to have a little chat. So tonight we are going to be talking comedy, well-being, life, and all the rest of it. With, like I said, this guy's just one of my favourite comics. I'm a fan, and it's been fantastic for me whenever I've worked with him. Just to see off stage how he is, on stage how he is. When we talk about the range of mental capacity, this guy in different times in history would have been sectioned. I've got no doubt about it. He's the closest character comic I think that we have to Sacha Baron Cohen. I can't praise him highly enough. I'm sure 10, 15 years from now, he'll be appearing in his own films. He's just got so many strong characters. Check him out on YouTube. Check him out on social media. Without further ado, we'll just get him in here and see if he's brushed that huge head of hair he's got. Michael, are you there?
What an intro, Jesus.
Hey, Sacha Baron Cohen, mate, easily you could be. Easily. Do you know, I first came to hear about you, Pete Graham, who runs the King's Head, and I was looking to take an actor with me to do an Irish Centre gig. And the problem I have is that a lot of time the comics that come over from Ireland, they're from Ireland. They don't notice the funny nuances. And the people that are born into Irish families overseas, their knowledge of Ireland is from like Mrs. Brown's Boys in the 1950s. But you, on the other hand, just created this cat. Pete Graham said, look, this guy, you got to see him. He's hilarious. And then as fortune would have it, about a week later, I was on a bill with you and laughed so much on a new act night that I was told by the promoter, can you stop laughing because you're showing favoritism? I'm like, the man's a genius. An absolute genius. You were just the funniest fella, honestly.
That's very high praise. Thank you, Jesus. Also, I'm very conscious of I'm very dark. There's electricians in, and I've got this is the only working plug by the light. So that's okay. That's the only sort of lightest room in the house.
It's like you've been taken hostage. There's probably someone on going, he's been kidnapped by Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda have got him.
Yeah. He's gone. I've got to do a podcast. Can you just let me do a podcast, and then I'm all yours.
Are you sharing the light with someone else? Is it one of those house share situations?
No, it's not. I'm actually in Suffolk at the moment. I'm normally in London, but I've been living in Suffolk because I made friends with over the pandemic my neighbours in London, and then one of them bought a house in Suffolk, and then in April she says, "Oh, I bought a place in Suffolk. Do you want to come down and help me?" And I said, "Yeah." And then I've stayed here.
What did she ask you to help her with though? Because you're sitting in the darkness.
Yeah, she says it's really dark. Can you help? And I said, I just to help her move. And then I came down. I've just, everything's remote now, so you can sort of. I've been back to London a few times, but I've been basically it's over. I'm going back to London tomorrow. But yeah.
And why are you helping her? How do you help her? Are you? Look, I know. Is she in the room with you? Just blink once. Is she?
No, she's not.
Against your will.
Yeah, she's the one who's held me hostage. No, I mean painting, decorating, lifting stuff. I'm not handy. I would say I'm level 5 wheelbarrow. So
mate, don't start me on wheelbarrows, right? So I don't know if you know, my dad was like a big burly Irish fella, and we worked the building sites from when we were 6 or 7. And there's a knack to the wheelbarrow. You walk into it, and your momentum carries it forward. So one of my best mates, he works out, he's in shape, he's a bodybuilder, big muscle man, came to stay with me once, and I was doing some building work, and I said, "Can you help?" He went, "Yeah, of course, man." I said, "Well, can you push the wheelbarrow?" And he stood into it and lifted it like a deadlift, and couldn't get it off the ground. And my then 12-year-old son, I said, "Do you want to go and show him how it's done?" Literally walked into it, picked it up, and carried on walking. And my mate could not, for the life of him, understand how a 12-year-old. Wow, yeah. It's a Longford thing, mate. It
is, yeah. It's a lost skill, the wheelbarrow skill.
Was it taught in schools?
No, not that I'm aware of. It should be.
Shocking. So she said to you, "Come up to Suffolk. It's really dark. I want it to be slightly brighter, but not."
No, she just said, "Yeah, do you want to come? You want to help me move?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I didn't have anything else on, and it's so much nicer here. Then, once you get out to the countryside, you're like, "Oh my God, why am I living in London? There's so much space." And I've just ended up, living in a much nicer house in Suffolk than
a much nicer house.
Yeah, no, it's great. I can't, but I'm going back tomorrow. So, yeah.
So tell us, start us off. Tell us where were you born and raised, and tell us a bit about your childhood.
So I was actually born in Belfast. But we moved when I was 4 down to County Fermanagh, which is about, for anyone who doesn't know, Northern Ireland, it's about 2 hours southwest of Belfast, in the bottom left hand corner. And grew up there, and then went to uni at Newcastle upon Tyne, and then came down to London.
What did you do at uni?
I did maths and psychology.
Maths and psychology.
Yeah, it was a random mix. I don't know why I picked it. Basically, I hate making decisions. I really struggle with making decisions. Like from having breakfast to working out what uni course to do. And my 2 older brothers had one had gone to Edinburgh and one had gone to Newcastle. And I literally just picked up the prospectus to Edinburgh, flicked through it and was like, can't do any of those. Picked up the Newcastle one, was like, oh, I could do maths and psychology. And I picked that, and I was way out of my depth. I think the idea was that I might be a math teacher or something, was my thinking.
Okay.
But, yeah. I mean, I had a great time. It was great. A lot of, I wasn't nowhere clever enough to do the course, but I had a great time.
Did you get through it?
I got through it. Yeah, got through it with the help of some of my course mates, and a bit of cheating. Not cheating, but
Yeah. But you're just talking yourself down there, mate. And so then, what happened when you left uni? What was the job you got into?
When I left uni, I actually then went and lived in Wales. My brother, eldest brother, had bought a house. This was just pre the crash of 2008, so everyone was like, "Quick, get a house!" And the banks were just giving out loads of money. And he bought this house in Aberystwyth, and I think he just looked at the map and just dropped like a pin and went, "All right, Aberystwyth." Just the most random decision and place ever. And so he phoned me and says, "Oh, do you fancy a summer job?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right." And then that summer job turned into like a year and a half, trying to convert renovate this massive sort of house. And we lived in this tiny little village outside of Aberystwyth, like proper in the sticks in Wales. Like it's a proper Welsh village. It's the type of Welsh village that you walk into the shop and they'll see that you're a blow-in or that you're new, and they'll start talking Welsh. And then once they work out that you're Irish, then it's okay, then you're fine. But it was,
so there's a bit of a theme developing here. People buying houses in the middle of nowhere and going, "Let's get Michael."
Yeah,
so
I don't know. I think I'm probably subconsciously trying to resolve that traumatic year and a half that I had with my brother. I'm playing it out here in Suffolk.
Do you think she spoke to your brother and said, "What?" And your brother's like, "Don't let him near the painting, the plumbing, or the electrics." And she's going, "What about lighting? Could you do?" Well, I don't know.
Yeah, like, he's really good with the wheelbarrow.
The wheelbarrow. Just give him a wheelbarrow. He'll be up and down all day with it.
Yeah.
And so, can I just what did your parents do? Were they arty-farty actors and lovies?
No, not at all. There's no one really in my family that are sort of do. There's lots of sort of you're never too far. Like there's lots of singers and people who can play music and things like that. But there's no one that I know of in my family or cousins that do sort of performing on stage. I don't think. My dad's a carpenter, and
sure, he's like Jesus, so he is. It's like Jesus.
He's like Jesus, yeah.
Gift. Oh, sorry, wrong part. He's like Jesus now, so he is now.
He's like Jesus.
Aye, he's like the big JC. Get that fellow wheelbarrow a bit of wood.
Hi, now, Brian Kai.
I'll try it.
He's he's a carpenter, but then him and Mum set up a nursing home in Fermanagh about 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And then they just sort of were running that, and they're still doing that. So that's their.
They may need a handyman at some stage. I'm just saying.
Well, definitely. Yeah.
Get the wee man back. He'll be fit. Don't let him near the lighting, whatever you do.
That's such a good impression of my parents. Wow.
Well, yeah. Well, this is what I brought you on. There's something me and your mum wanted you to know.
Yeah. No, but so not my so yeah, none of my none of my brothers or whatever are do comedy or whatever. I think they're probably funnier than me. I'd say they're but none of them have sort of gone up on stage and done it anyway. I don't know.
So you're working in Aberystwyth in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Some kind of safe house, shall we say? Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
I just imagine you're in this village with a load of fellas from the north going, "Hello, how are you there, boy? I know that fella from somewhere else. No, hello." So you did that. Then what happened?
Then I came to London because all my friends had sort of moved to London, and I'd actually I wanted to get into acting, and I seen back home there was a thing called Cinemagic. I'm not sure if it's still running, but they run like different sort of courses for young people below 25 to get into film industry and TV and stuff. And one of them was an acting like course. It was like just a half-day thing, but it was
half-day.
Yeah.
Don't waste all your money when you're over there.
You get your certificate and straight off to Hollywood.
There you go.
But it was being run by this casting director called Roz Hubbard, and Hubbard casting are quite. I think I'm not sure. I think the daughter and the son are still going, but John and Roz, who set it up, did a lot of big films. So I seen that and I said, "Oh wow, cool! I'll do that." And did the course. We had to prepare a bit. They sent us a bit of script to prepare, and afterwards she was like, she was talking to me. She said, "So what's your plans next?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. We're going to go over to London and look for a job." And she goes, so I was thinking, "Oh wow, she spotted me here. This is my big ticket." And she goes, "Well, if you're looking for work, why don't you work for me?" And
please don't tell me it was a house. It wasn't a house that needed renovating.
No, but you joke. I did actually. I worked for her for a year. I was like her assistant. I was like a runner in this casting department. And I left and I said, "Look, it's not for me. I'm gonna get another job." And she goes, "Well, I'm doing my house up around the corner, and they need a labourer."
It's the wheelbarrow again.
And I don't know what. I'm not handy. Like I'm genuinely not handy. I put in some. I put on some, like, the bolts on a door.
Yeah.
On the bathroom. I couldn't even get that right today. Like, so I don't know what it is about the universe is telling me to get into like labouring or carpentry or something. But yeah. Anyway, so I did actually work there for a bit, and then I did building work.
Brilliant.
And then I actually went, and then I got a job working I was a runner then at Talkback. I got into Talkback and worked in there for a bit. And then a few years later, then it was, I can't remember how long. Yeah, maybe a year or two later, then I started stand-up. So, yeah.
And so what made you decide to start stand-up? Where did that come from?
So there was an opportunity to do it at uni, and I didn't take it. And then I'd always sort of, I was like, I should have done that. I was really annoying. That was the opportunity to try it. And then my brother was going to Africa to build a well or something.
Did he need help? Did he? Didn't he need anyone to come push the wheelbarrow? Come with us.
Well, he's level 6 wheelbarrow, so he got called to Africa.
He can go up the ramp. He can go up the ramp.
Yeah. So he was like, "I'll go to Africa," and he was like trying to raise money, and he asked me could I help him. So I put on like a talent show evening in the Black Heart in Camden. And it was a real random, eclectic mix of people. Some people were doing comedy. Some people were doing singing. Some people were like, it was a real mix. It was actually Joel Dommett. Joel Dommett was headlining.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was in.
Where's he now?
Huh? Oh, no, I haven't. But
he's not sitting in the dark.
Yeah, he's not. He's sitting in the house with working lights. But he's so this was 2012, I think. So he, like, I don't know how I think I got him through a friend of a friend. It was a real random. But he was meant to headline, and then he had to nip off, and I had sort of put on this night, and I thought, well, this is basically the entire audience here are friends and family. So if any time this is the time to try it, then this is the time to try stand up. And so because he had to nip off early, I ended up headlining.
Brilliant.
So it looked like some sort of mad like plan that I had to organize all this so I could headline my own first gig.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I was actually spoiled because it was probably the best gig I've ever done. Because it was all friends and stuff in the audience, and everyone was quite drunk by that stage. Before I even got to the stage, there was a standing ovation.
Brilliant.
So I got a real wrong reading of. So when I finished that gig, I was like, oh my god, fucking hell! I was like riding high, because I got a standing ovation at the start and finish.
Yeah.
And I got a real wrong reading of what stand-up comedy is meant to be. So the next gig I did, I think I did an open mic somewhere, like Lions Den Comedy or something, and but it was absolute, silence. Exact same set, but just literally.
And this was in 2012, was it?
That was 2012. Yeah, only 2012.
Okay. Let me just stop you there. Just anyone listening on the podcast or on Deluxe Radio or mensradiostation.com, thanks for listening. You're listening to Reading the Science with me, John Ryan. This week, I'm joined by soon-to-be global superstar Michael Stranney. Thanks to WJ show sponsors. We're just talking comedy, and we can talk about well-being, life, and all the rest of it. At the moment, we've learned that Michael is not the world's best builder. 60-minute makeover would not really be employing him, but he's pretty handy with a wheelbarrow. In 2012, you started your first ever gig. You've headlined it, and it's gone great. Then your next gig hasn't gone quite as well. How did you go then from 2012, having a great gig and then dying on your backside, to 2013 being shortlisted for BBC Radio 2 New Comedian of the Year?
No, that was 2015, I think. So that was
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I did. So I did a few years of
hard labor.
A few years of hard labor on the open mic circuit. And because I think you're always chasing that. You're always like, people talk about surfing being addictive, because surfing you're chasing. You get a perfect wave. I don't surf. I'd love to be able to surf, but you get this perfect wave, and then you're sort of spoiled because it becomes about getting that same high from that, and so you have a perfect gig, and then you just keep chasing that to get that same, gig again. So before you know it, you've accumulated, you've just like done a lot of gig miles, and so then I entered in a few New York competitions, and that was 2015, I think. I started to get to the finals of New York competitions and things. And
then what was it you won in 2015?
That was the New Act of the Year. It used to be the Hackney Empire New Act of the Year.
Yeah. And was that at the Hackney Empire?
It was at the Bloomsbury, I think. So I won that, and then Spencer Jones actually came second. And in the chortle review of the night, Steve Bennett goes, "For my money, I think Spencer should have won it, but Michael Stranney won it instead," or something like that. Anyway, but so that was, and then I did the. I think that year I just was really lucky and got to read a load of different New York.
Don't ever say lucky around me. I don't believe in luck. You're fortunate. Fortunate. Just for people who don't know who Spencer Jones is, he just went on to get nominated for the main prize, didn't he, at Edinburgh a couple of years?
Yeah, he's actually on. It's worth watching on BBC iPlayer. His The Mind of Herbert Clunkerdunk. It is amazing. It is so good. I can't rate it highly enough. It's just really silly. It's like a kids program, but for kids. It's amazing. And I think he's just finished filming the second series.
It's funny because I did the Hackney Empire New Act of the Year 2001, I think it was.
Oh wow!
And and it was one. I can't even remember who won it. A guy called Paul Hickman. Paul Hickman, hilarious. Did a lot of puns, lots of one-liners. Just ripped the place apart, and never went on to do anything. Runners up was Mark Felgate, Shappy Corsandi.
Oh, cool.
And then Russell Brand was in it. He didn't finish in the top 3. And it was interesting how afterwards, how many industry people said, I went on 13th out of 13 acts. But I'm from Hackney, so I just love the fact that I was on at the Hackney Empire. How many of them said, look, it's not about winning, because you don't get on a bill because you've won a competition. That takes you down a different avenue if you want to go that way. If you want to be a good job in solid comic, the fact that you've got to the final of this, and he said it to all of us, will really stand you good stead. Russell Brand at that stage wasn't listening. He was at the bar. Paul Hickman was just being really, really humble. And I just remember thinking, oh, right, yeah, I forgot it was a competition. I just loved the fact that I was at. And then the following year, I was a runner-up in another new act competition, won by Miles Jupp. 2 runners-up, me and Jimmy Carr. Not placed, John Bishop, Pat Monaghan, Dougie Dunlop. You know, so it just shows that you know, in that moment, there's no way of measuring. It's not like linear. It's just
no, definitely. And people can get bogged down with, like, if you're starting out in comedy, people can get really bogged down in new act competitions. But they're really not. They are no measure of, like, James Acaster was never featured in any new act competitions. I don't think he did. Like, they're just they're sort of like a false. They're definitely great for, you know, giving you encouragement and sort of a green light sort of thing. But they're by no means the be all and the end all. Like, that's almost the start of the journey.
And so I remember, because I was good mates with Rod Gilbert before he even started doing comedy. And then he started doing comedy. He would always get to finals, and every final that year was won by Rod Gilbert or Matt Kirshen. They were the only two. They'd win everyone. And when one didn't win, the other one would come second. It was a bit like, you know, in football, it's like Man United and Arsenal in the early 2000s. They would always want to win, one come second. But it's interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah. Sorry, go on, finish what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's interesting how it's like it was quite competitive between the two of them. Yeah. But for everyone else, you know, Alan Cochrane didn't even get in the final that year. And now he's got his own Radio 5 or his some radio show. And he's a huge, phenomenal performer. If anyone's never seen him, please do go and see him. But it's that thing of, so Rod Gilbert was just like an open spot who saw the gap, went through it, went for it, and he will tell you himself that wasn't probably by his own standards admission the best new act. Yeah.
Was he did he change his because I remember, I don't know if this is true, but did he start off doing like really sort of doing his shtick really sort of deadpan and still, and then
kind of, but he was very nervous. He was he had a good job, and he's actually just genuinely a really nice bloke and naturally witty. Naturally witty. And people don't realize that for performers, a lot of the time they are performing, but there are some of us who are the same off stage as we are on stage. I know that. You know, even like 10 days ago, a friend of mine saw me gigging for the first time and was sort of, well, it's just like you in your kitchen, but there's more of us. That's because my kitchen isn't big enough.
No, it's not. It's really nice, isn't it, when you meet, you know, when you find people like are on camera as they are off camera. It's like, or they speak to everyone the same as they would speak to, you know, whatever.
So where do you think, coming from like Belfast and that, do you think you got a natural head start because you're a lot of the funniest people on the planet?
Do you think?
Oh, mate, don't even. I'll do 2 hours on this. Undoubtedly, it's not. People go, Irish people are funny, thinking people from the Republic. People born on that island, there's something. They're just wired differently. What about yourself? I love that expression. What about yourself? And I'm like, what? Yeah. And there's always a quip, and when I've gigged especially in the north, because you know I work both sides because of my accent, they'll accept me, and then because I'm John Ryan, I talk about being Longford, going on holiday to Enniskillen and the Ardoyne, and you know the green side are like, you gigged in the Ardoyne, you poor wee lad there now. How bad is that for you? But they are just Can't help themselves. They're all. We went. I got asked to do a gig. So I was on a cruise ship, done a gig, and ripped into everyone. It was St. Patrick's Day, so the ship had done the theatre out in green, white, and gold. And I said, "No, St. Patrick's Day. Please don't have tricolours. You've got to. There's St. Patrick's for all of them, right?"
Yeah.
And then the big finale was going to be me singing the Fields of Athenry. And I said, "Can't do that, mate, because you'll alienate a lot of your audience. We'll do like Danny Boy or something that, or I'll tell me Ma, something to." Anyway, during the show, I bantered about the whole thing of, growing up being told I was Irish but having this accent. So then afterwards, this guy says to me, "You're a chiggy wee so-and-so, right?" Yeah. I said, "Yeah." He goes, "We'll never come over. If I brings you over, would you come over to Ballymena?" I said, "Yeah, I'll go to Ballymena." He goes, "Hey, bring a friend." And so I said, "All right then." And then my mate then, Ronnie Edwards, was this big black Canadian Jamaican. He's about 6'6". I said, "Ronnie, do you want to do a gig with me? It's like, X £100 and a flight and hotel." He goes, "Okay, when?" I said, "Tuesday, we come back Thursday." "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay. You want to meet me at the airport?" He goes, "All right." And he's pretty laid back. I said to my mum, "I'm going to do a gig in Ballymena." And she's like, "Are you mental? They'll kill you. They'll rip you apart. Don't open your mouth." And when I got there, we landed, and Ronnie had never been. And he's like, "We've got Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland." We got in this cab, and straight away the cab driver's clocked me, and he goes, "Yeah, where you going?" I told him we was going, and he's looked at Ronnie, looked at me, and he's going, "Oh, so you guys be going up? You'll be away off up the BS later, I guess," because he's decided that we're military.
Right.
I'm like, Ronnie's like, "No, man, no, we're working the show, man. We're comedians." And the guy goes, "All right, so then he's not interested." And he's got this huge tattoo on his arm. It goes from his wrist all the way up to his elbow, right? Of a man on a horse. And then Ronnie looks at him and goes, "I like your tattoo there, man. What's that?" And the guy looks at him and goes, "Hey, that's Lester Piggott." "Yeah, Lester Piggott. I like him, man. I don't think I'd have a tattoo." Ronnie spent the next 15 minutes with me elbowing him, talking about horse racing and all the rest of it. And it was only when I explained to him about William of Orange and the horse and what it means and how the guy, he had no idea. Anyway, we get to the gig, and your man hosted going, "I met this guy on a cruise ship. He's a cheeky wee blackguard. Give me your best." So I said, "All right." And they're all these, basically a load of orange men, right? And I went on and said, "Hey, my name's John Ryan." Straight away, "Ooh." I said, "Do you know what? This fella told me his name was Mihal on the ship. It turns out he's in the lodge." And they went, "Hey, when you it now? When you Jackie?" And they were open for anything. And Ronnie said it was the most friendly reception he'd ever had. And he said, but people just couldn't help but take the mickey, just mock him. And he expected racism, but what he got was almost the reverse, watching me getting dug out. How do you think that's influenced your characters and your mischief?
First of all, can I just say I love the accents? They are great accents.
Oh, yeah.
You've nailed them.
I've nailed them. I feel I'm an X Factor. Thank you.
The Northern Irish accent is the most ridiculous accent, isn't it? It's the stupidest accent, and I have it, so it's okay for me to say. But I think it's just every time I hear it on TV, I think, "Oh my god, it's so stupid, it's so mental."
Yeah, they always put them ones on.
Yeah. So I don't know if I would share the same quickness as those guys. Like I definitely I think was influenced a lot by Father Ted was that came out at a moment, like I think I was 11 or something. That sort of surreal, silly sort of Irish stuff is what is sort of like right up my street. That's the kind of stuff I latch onto. But definitely like growing up and stuff, like and hearing my uncles and my dad and stuff, all that sort of Belfast sort of humor and taking the piss out of each other. I guess I don't think I've sort of inherited that and reproduced that in my own stuff, but I guess it has given me a sort of sensibility for what's funny or what I find funny.
But it's that almost inherent sense of mischief, isn't it?
Yeah. That sort of playfulness and sort of not taking it, always looking for the joke. I think.
Yeah.
And always looking for the Yeah, and that sort of deadpan sort of down the line sort of humor is
We went to Coal Island, and the compere, he said to this woman, so what you do for a living? She goes, and she had one of those very gentle voices now, very, very soft, like, she goes, well, I'm an air hostess, and he goes, right. She goes, but I'm not working at the moment due to maternity leave. And he goes, oh, okay. He goes, when's it due? She goes, sorry, when's it due? When the baby, when's it due? Oh, I had it about 6 months ago. And it was like, right? It's complete silence. And he says, I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. I must have just come across as really insensitive and rude.
Yeah.
A lot of compares, they'd have some funny joke to get them out of this situation, but I'm not going to lie. I'm really stuck here. Silence. And this bloke goes, oh yeah. And then he says, so if anyone's got anything I should say to get a laugh, and the guy goes, hey, ask her when it's due again. And the whole place cracked up, and he was on stage like this. It was just that moment of,
That is excellent.
But so you were growing up, and were there like a lot of characters? Was there like laughter in the house? Was it particularly?
Yeah, I mean, there's like I don't know if my parents are particularly funny. Like there's laughter in the house. Like I was always messing around. Like I have 4 brothers, and always sort of messing around. But I don't know. My sense of humor, I think, was formed relatively late. I think it sort of crystallized at uni when I was just sort of just dicking around with friends and that. And like growing up, like I mentioned, like Father Ted and things like that, and watching things on TV and just sort of getting and dicking around at school and stuff. But I never really, it wasn't until uni that I thought, oh, I wonder if I could try and replicate what I'm seeing on TV, or try and have a go at it. But yeah, I think I was like I'm not the funniest in my house at all. My brothers are funnier than
But
me.
it's your eye for detail. If you just hold on to that, I just want to welcome anyone who's joining us on SoundCloud or on any of the social media outlets, mensradiostation.com, or on the Deluxe Radio Network. And if you're listening to us in the depots, time to get the vans out, boys. At WJ, the UK's leading road marking specialist. I am here on Reading the Signs with this week's guest, Michael Stranney, who's just hilarious. What I want to ask you then is, so like I'm from an era of character comics, right? So I used to go and watch people like Simon Day, Mark Williams, John Thompson, Caroline Ahern, and you're very much from that school of comedy, where I used to go and watch, especially like Mark Williams, and I'd watch him and he would die on his backside. People just stare at him. He would come out as all these characters, and I found him hilarious, right? I think probably because a lot of my relatives were kind of benefit fraudsters, so I was used to like my uncle answering the phone and going, yes, hello, please, right? So I'm like, wow, you can hold that off really, really well. But do you think, so your character, do you think that is there a market? Is there somewhere to go down that whimsical, quirky sort of route on the circuit?
I mean, well, on the circuit, it like I when I was doing it on stage, it was definitely had my fair share of bombing, because people, it's not really, sometimes when you come onto stage, audiences in a stand-up context are wanting to be reassured. And so they want, as soon as you take the mic from the stand, they want to know that you're in safe hands and be like, okay, fine, he knows what he's doing. But if you try and subvert that in any way, like, so when I was coming on as sort of Daniel Duffy from this fictional village in Northern Ireland that was sort of locked in the past, so I was a bit of a fish out of water deliberately, and sometimes audiences, that just put them on edge. They didn't know that that's that this is all part and parcel of the shtick, and so if you don't reassure them from the start, then they're not on board at all. But sometimes if it, you just need a couple of more of sort of people in the audience to sort of get it, and then that will reassures the rest of them, and then you're away. But yeah, I had my fair share of bombing on stage, trying to do various different characters. But
I remember once Rich Hall saying, good comedy is about when you build a world and it becomes so believable that people accept whatever you say within the constraints and confines of that world.
Yeah.
And I remember once we went to, you came to Coventry, and for weeks afterwards I was talking to like the bar owner and go, no, he's not, that's a character. He goes, oh, that Daniel Duffy bloke, yeah, he was just hilarious. I went, no, he's not real. I've Googled him, but I can't find out how to get in touch with him. I mean, because he's not real. There is no such place as Ballybeg. It's not,
No.
Why did you create a village and a town with this?
Because I didn't have anything to talk. Like, a lot of people came on stage, like material wise, and would talk about them, their lives or what was going on. I didn't have anything to say. I had nothing to say. So I thought, well, the easiest way for me to click into writing a joke or writing something funny is to make up this completely fabricated world and talk about the various people in this. Just tell stories and talk about the people in this world. Just because it was, because I didn't have anything to say as me. So, and also it's a form of protection as well. Like, when you come on stage, if you're a character, you're one removed from, if you bomb or whatever, the audience don't like you, then you can go, oh well, shield.
Okay, we seem to have lost you there for a second or two. I don't know what happened.
But
Michael, oh right, okay, you're back.
Yeah, if people
I feel like I'm talking to a commentator in Mexico or somewhere, another part of the planet, because I've gone. So tell us, how about that last goal? You've gone, well, corner.
I'm really sorry. I don't know what. Can you see? Can you see and hear me? You
can't see and hear you. Yeah, I can see and hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. What?
So then, tell us about the Irish Comedian of the Year. How did that come out on the TED Fest thing? What was that all about?
Oh, the TED Fest. Yeah. So that was that was up in Leicester. And just that was probably my audience to do it in front of. Because they were all. I mean, it's pretty much right up. It's Father Ted in a way. Like I play. Essentially a version of Father Dougal, really. Just I'm not reinventing the wheel at all. But so it was just, I was lucky in the sense that the stuff that I was saying and doing was all resonated. It was that the audience were just lapping it up because that was that was they were massive fans of sort of Father Ted. So it was all in that sort of ilk. That was their thing. A few years ago I was their thing, yeah. But then I did a thing on Facebook. I created, like, I got some money from a production company they said, would you want to do whatever, do some content online?
Yeah.
So I came up with a fake sort of community note, like Facebook page for Ballybeg. It was called the Ballybeg Post Office. And
that's right, I remember that.
And then just did sort of like so the premise was the village was coming online and they had this page. And we were doing updates and stuff. And then I had a webcam and I was doing videos from the post office. And it was interesting, like, because it got a fairly, one of the videos went viral and then it got a fairly far reach, and we got like 40,000 follows or something in 6 weeks. The page doesn't exist, like, it exists, but it's no longer active.
Yeah, it's no longer active.
But it's amazing on the internet. You can get, like, you really find your audience. So on TV or anything like that, you're just being broadcast into people's living rooms, and you're hit people. you're much more open to criticism because they didn't ask you to sort of be on their TV. Whereas on the internet, you have to find them out. And so this page, it was lovely because all the comments and everything, everyone was really into it. And I remember getting this message from, used to get messages all the time just from random people. And there's this message, and it looked like someone had just been like it looked like spam. Someone had just like slapped like their hands on the keyboard. And I was about to delete it. And then I was like, actually, do you know what? I'm going to run that through Google. And I ran through Google Translate, and it was this tribal language. It was, the one with the clicks.
Yeah. Sosa.
And
Is it Sosa?
Yes, yeah. And she was like, oh, how much to send letter to my mother or something like that. So she was trying to get involved. And somehow it reached this. I looked it up on Google Maps, and somewhere this random little tiny place in Africa. I said, wow, that is mad. So
I loved Dormouse Facts and the theme park. Just the idea of this theme park. Ballybeg Post Office. You should, mate, get it up again. Get it going. It's just silly. It's just pure silly.
It's pure, yeah. But I don't like, so that character. I've since I've gone back to stand up. I now do it as essentially me, but I'm doing all that sort of those silly stories, but it's not necessarily tied to a village.
I just think that it's just that your brain is wired differently, and it goes into a different area. Because like the doodling thing, the pavement doodling thing, it's just genius, man. It's just one of the silliest, funniest, logical things I've ever seen. And on YouTube, you've got a few little of these zany things. Where's the drawing come from? Where's the art come from?
I mean, I'm not a drawer at all. That came from, that was just I can't even remember what that was, like maybe 5 years ago or something. But it was just a one-off sort of, a friend of mine just said, oh, let's do something. Let's do a video on what pisses you off or something. I can't even remember the video. Oh, it was like, I think I did it on slow walkers or something.
That's it. Yeah, slow walking. It was just explaining the etiquette of walking on a pavement.
Yeah.
And it's just how your brain's always seemed to me to be just wired slightly different. It was about people who walk slow or slow walkers. And it's on YouTube, and it is honestly hilarious. It's hilarious, but also in that kind of Paul Foot does something similar, and you go, ha, wow, that's actually, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I always get stuck behind the old lady or the person pushing the chair or whatever. And it just seems to me that, so you can do this character. You can also do the kind of doodly thing. What happened to the American lad that you was?
I did him a few times. So I think there's a video on YouTube somewhere. It's called
JJ or
how top tips on how to be funny. I think JJ Hopes. And it was just it was an idea I had for like this tragic sort of like props comedian that sort of got into comedy to try and prove to his ex-girlfriend that he was funny. So it had an element of pathos to it, and I was doing it on and doing it live and stuff, and it was, people got on board with it, but to be honest, I got bored of lugging all the props with me.
That seems to be a recurrent theme, doesn't it? And then finally, the only other thing I want to ask you about is, what's about this 8 out of 10 cats thing? What was that all about with the writing?
I've done bits. I've got into the writing room doing bits and pieces for them. For the first time I did, I actually thought, do you know what? It's going to be weird writing a joke that someone else. So it was basically intros and things. For Jimmy, and I thought, oh, this is going to be weird to write a joke and someone else gets the laugh. But weirdly, I actually enjoyed it more because I don't know, because you're able to, whenever I'm on stage and I'm saying something, I'm not able to.
You're in the moment. Yeah, you enjoy it.
I'm not in the moment. I'm not able to enjoy it. There's too much. My mind's, going off. and sort of analyzing everything. Whereas whenever he read out the joke that I had written and everyone laughed, I got such a kick from that. I was like, wow, I was able to properly enjoy it. I mean, I'd love to be able to. Some people are amazing gag writers and can just churn them out.
Yeah,
whereas I'm not that prolific. I can't. I have to get my brain in a certain gear.
But it's another notch, isn't it? So you hide behind the character, you hide behind the writing, you can hide behind the drawing. How do you cope then? How do you cope with being a comic, with trying to earn a living, with traveling, with lockdown, with all that? What stops you from losing the plot?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very easy to lose the plot, definitely. Like, and definitely, what sets me off is whenever you start comparing yourself to your peers. And generally what that happens whenever I go to a wedding or something, and I'll meet up with my friends and I'll just see how different they're like they have, they'll be, doctors, or they'll be, head teachers, or they'll have kids, houses and stuff. And then you start spinning out going, oh my God, what, like, like my friend who I used to live with in London, this is just before I started stand up. In that time, like he had a girlfriend, broke up with a girlfriend, met a girl, got engaged to her, married her, bought a house, sold that house, bought another house, did that up, bought another house, had a baby, is now like head teacher. Like his life has changed.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, in that time, I'm still in the same house, and I've like bought a new bedside lamp, and it's like,
but you can't use it because there's only one plug. When I was at school, this was in the 80s. A kid Mehmet, I remember we were talking about what you can do to leave school. People, I'm going to be a footballer, I'm going to be a pop star, I'm going to be like a rapper, blah, blah, blah. He said, I am going to have a coffee shop and sell coffee. And I remember the teacher saying, you won't make a living doing that. He goes, I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm just going to sell coffee. And by the time he was, I think, 30, he was a millionaire. And I remember bumping into him, and he had this big car and he was doing really, really well. And I was really proud. I said, you know what, man, I'm really proud of the fact that we've come out of that school and you've done so well. Then about 2 years later, he was on News at 10, and he was one of the southeast of England's biggest heroin importers, and the coffee was all the front. So what I'm saying is, your friend may be a head teacher, but what's really going on there now? Huh? What's going on in there now?
What's going on?
So how do you cope? If you had to give us like a tip for how to get through life with a smile on your face and optimism.
Well, for me, control. Basically, focus on controlling what you can control and give up what you can't control. Is quite a useful, helpful tip someone once told me. Because normally when you're spinning out, or when you're unhappy or anything like that, it's because you're probably fixated on something you can't control.
Okay.
And so if you can just, if you just sort of try and let that go and just sort of train your brain to focus on something that you can control, to give you that sort of sense of progress. And it could be anything. I mean, like, I don't know, doing some painting and decorating, or I don't know, reading a book, or learning something, learning a language. But if I find myself getting into a mental sort of, ruminating funk, I'll first I'll try and do some exercise, because I mean,
physical exercise.
Physical exercise, yes. Try and get me out of my head, because you can just, I can just get stuck ruminating on something. And then if you exercise, I find it sort of frees you up a bit. And then focus on something I can control. And it could be something really simple, like, cook a meal. Focus on just, start small. But generally what I find, if you're unhappy or you're frustrated at something, it's because you're trying to control something you can't control. So you just have to give it up and focus on what you can.
That sounds like good advice, man. Would Ballybeg's GP have any different advice?
Yeah, he'd probably say drink some goat urine on a full moon. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff that if I watch that back, I'm like, that is mental. It's really mental. Yeah.
I think
should probably get checked out.
Drink goat urine.
Yeah, on a full moon.
Okay, on a full moon. Well, what I think is funny about that is I can imagine that's the sort of advice they would give. But also I can imagine putting that up, someone taking that advice and then trying to sue me because it's 2021. I'm going to go, oh, it's all right until I listen to that. But they never listen to the good stuff, do they? This company I went into on Tuesday, they asked me how much my public indemnity insurance is. It's £1.2 million. And they said, well, that's a lot. Is it likely you're going to give advice people are going to take? And I said, no, that's entry-level indemnity insurance. No, if I said to someone, yeah, which is really good for well-being, right? Juggle torches that are on fire. Why are you listening to that, but you won't listen to me going, don't be a numpty? Why you got...
Smart, isn't it?
Yeah. So will I not get credit for all the people who don't juggle torches that are on fire? Don't even start on that one. But, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, talking to you. And I'm glad that, you're sitting in the darkness and you've got a new lamp. And it's good to see it's good to see the head of curly hair again. I sincerely mean this, mate. I think you can easily be destined for greatness, man. You just got to believe in yourself and just keep doing what you're doing, man. I do, you know that. I just like I said, the guys on the Fast show, it took them years to break through. It may take you another 5-10 years, but you invariably will make it. And I'll be one of them boring old people going, oh, I knew that, lad. Oh, I knew. You go, no, you didn't. Yeah. And wow, Michael Stranney, he's really big in China. Like, yeah.
Really big in that tiny little tribal village in Africa.
That village you made up in Beijing is just genius. Like, mate, absolute pleasure. Stay safe. And anyone listening, do go and check out his really poor social media channels because you really
Hidden Ireland. I tell you, like Hidden Ireland, the podcast would probably be the best.
Hidden Ireland, yeah. Hidden Ireland. Is that Hidden Ireland the award-winning podcast?
It didn't win an award, but it
was
lost
nominated.
FM.
Who are they? Where are they there? Hidden Ireland podcast. Well, I will mention it, and I'll find it myself, mate. You look, take care, stay safe, and I'll say a wee prayer now for some light. Just some.
Hope to God I get the lights fixed soon.
Saint Telstar, patron saint of electricity. Will you ever give this guy something to shine under? You take care, mate. Speak soon. That's the genius of Michael Stranney. He really is as good as hopefully I made him sound. Do check out the Hidden Ireland podcast and just type his name in. The guy's a genius. It's only a matter of time before the rest of the world realizes. And until then, we just have to have him as like a little national treasure. So he had some great advice for us. I'm not too sure about the Ballybeg's GP. What was that one? That was about, drink goat's urine on a full moon. That was it. His advice, though, really, really good, really simple. Don't fixate on things you can't control. We are not practitioners. We're not clinicians. We're just people who get through life and seem to be on this side of the winning line more often than not. So maybe we've got something that we're doing that's right. Every week we get a tip from our guest. Saul Bernstein, absolutely brilliant. His story was incredible. But his thing is, life isn't always easy. Sometimes you got to battle it out. Steve Gribbo, I particularly like this one. Don't be too hard on yourself. Andre in New Zealand, the big Maori guy. Trouble shared is trouble halved. Talking seems to be the key. The worst advice I've had so far, Jen, I'm sorry, Jen Brister, but swimming in cold water, it ain't never going to happen. I still can't understand how that helps, but I've got an open mind to it. Who knows? From America, we had Eric's well-being tips. Find something to do and push on with it. Stubbornness, as Philip Simon said. Marcus Birdman, yoga and well-being. And Kane, of course, be selfish. Put yourself first. Thank you so much for coming along, for listening. Thanks to WJ. Do tune into all the other shows on the mensradiostation.com website, as well as the women's radio station website. Take care, and we'll see you on Monday. Well, that's the end of another episode of Reading the Signs with me, Comedy John Ryan. We're here every Monday night at 7 p.m. talking with comedians about mental wellness, mental well-being, and just trying to get the conversation going. What we're trying to do is show that it's good to talk, and we're also trying to show that everybody can go through the same experiences. A massive thank you to the WJ Group who sponsored the show, showing their commitment not just to mental well-being, but also to reaching as broad an audience as possible. It's great to be part of the mensradiostation.com family, so do check us out on the website, on social media. We'll be back next Monday. You take care. Stay safe, everybody.